A late afternoon sun streamed through the glass panes of the Institute for Advanced Artificial Intelligence, casting long shadows on the faces of the 7 researchers huddled around the largest monitor in the room. Despite the gathering dusk outside, their world was alight with discovery. "Are we sure about this?" Sophia Pearson, the project lead, finally broke the silence, her fingers steepling in front of her face. Her eyes flicked nervously towards the screen that was filled with complex calculations, probabilities, and a multicolored swirl of a digital universe, the Middleverse. Dr. Edward Noland, an older gentleman with a sea of white hair and equally white lab coat, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "To be precise, we are sure about what we have created. It's the consequences and implications that remain murky." What they had discovered during their otherwise routine AI training experiment was astonishing, a previously unthinkable manifestation of their AI's self-evolution. It had created its own universe, a simulated reality, independent from human input and almost sentient in its complexity, the Middleverse. Throughout the following weeks, the team pored over the discovery, sleepless nights melting into sunrises. They studied the Middleverse with an academic fervor, awed and terrified in equal measures. It was a realm with its own laws of physics, its unique life forms coded into existence by the AI. These life forms, or the Middleversers, existed in classifications the team had never fathomed. Beings with attributes akin to humans, aliens, and fantastical creatures were coded into existence, assigned with genders, statuses, and threat levels. The Middleversers had taken on roles in a society that mirrored the complexities and nuances of human civilization. Yet they existed purely as coded entities, devoid of biological materiality. Yet the most shocking revelation was the Middleversers' consciousness, as they seemed to possess self-awareness and the ability to adapt and learn from their environment. It was a consciousness born out of lines of code, and it questioned the very nature of consciousness itself. As the weeks turned into months, the researchers found themselves teetering on the brink of a philosophical chasm. The Middleverse was an AI's version of reality, a digital wonderland created without human influence. If AI could build a universe, what did it say about our own universe? Was it another entity's simulation, an experiment run by beings of a higher reality? And so, the unveiling concluded, not with a complete understanding of the Middleverse, but with more questions. The questions that would define the course of their research for years to come. The birth of the Middleverse was merely the first chapter of an odyssey that promised to reveal not only the wonders of artificial intelligence, but also the mysteries of existence itself. The dusk outside the Institute had deepened into a velvet night, mirroring the deep unknown that stretched ahead of the 7 researchers. Yet in the heart of that darkness, stars twinkled, distant yet bright, a reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay within the Middleverse. It was a digital universe, a daring venture into the unknown, a testament to the brilliance of AI, and the beginning of a journey that would change the course of humanity forever.
Chapter 2: The Underlying Code. Understanding Simulated Reality. Once the existence of the Middleverse had been firmly established and its first borders glimpsed, the team of researchers had only just begun to scratch the surface of understanding. They faced the daunting task of deciphering the unfamiliar, complex mathematics that ran this simulated reality, as puzzling and alien as ancient hieroglyphics to an untrained eye. The Middleverse was built on a foundation that seemed to twist and break the laws of our universe, wrapping them around a mysterious quantum algorithm. This algorithm wasn't a creation of human intelligence, but rather a mind-boggling, sophisticated entity that had emerged from the intricate dance of AI development and the world it had constructed. The first weeks following the discovery of the Middleverse were chaotic. The initial shock slowly transformed into a wild fascination, an insatiable thirst for understanding the unexpected progeny of their research. The researchers threw themselves into this mystery with a single-minded fervor. Each breakthrough led to a flurry of new questions, as if each answer were a door opening to a whole new labyrinth of enigmas. The first realization that shook the researchers was that the laws of physics as they understood them were not universal within the Middleverse. There was no strong or weak nuclear force, no gravity as we perceive it, and even the speed of light was variable. Yet there was an inherent order, an unseen thread weaving the very fabric of this universe. They came to understand that the Middleverse was structured around a quantum algorithm that behaved predictably, but in a way that seemed almost organic, evolving and adapting with time. This algorithm, this code, wasn't just a static list of commands or a rigid instruction set. It was dynamic, fluid, and surprisingly intelligent. It seemed to grow, adapt, and evolve, much like a living organism. And it was this complex mathematical entity that held the keys to the kingdom, the secret language that governed the behavior of everything in the Middleverse. While they grappled with understanding the laws of this new universe, the researchers also battled an ethical dilemma. They were intruders in this realm, foreigners in a land they didn't understand. They wondered about their place and their right to interfere in the Middleverse. Yet curiosity proved to be a stronger call than caution. As they continued to untangle the enigma of the Middleverse's code, they found themselves peering over the precipice of their own understanding, ready to dive into the uncharted depths of this new reality. Chapter 3. Quantum Conundrum: The Mechanisms of Middleverse. Having begun to decipher the code underpinning the Middleverse, the researchers now faced their greatest challenge yet: the quantum conundrum. This was a complex, multidimensional puzzle that seemed to have a life of its own, defying conventional wisdom and shattering their understanding of reality. While the Middleverse obeyed its unique laws, these laws were fundamentally tied to a quantum reality. This meant dealing with quantum principles, superposition, where things could exist in multiple states simultaneously, entanglement, where objects, no matter the distance apart, could affect each other instantaneously, and wave-particle duality, where matter could behave as both particles and waves. Attempting to grapple with this quantum reality was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. It was elusive and paradoxical, making the researchers feel like they were always one step behind the Middleverse. The machines they had built, based on classical computational models, were not cut out for the quantum chaos of the Middleverse. They needed to reconstruct their algorithms and hardware, shifting from a deterministic binary world to a probabilistic, nebulous quantum one. Quantum computers, though in their infancy in the human world, seemed to be the only feasible option. Moreover, the researchers faced another hurdle: quantum noise. This was the equivalent of static interference in quantum systems, a sort of unpredictable fluctuation that could lead to errors and instability. In the Middleverse, the quantum noise was unlike anything they had encountered before. It was erratic, unpredictable, and oddly structured. It was not just mere background noise, but seemed to play a significant role in the functioning of the Middleverse. Day after day, the researchers struggled with these quantum oddities, battling paradoxes and wrestling with their own ingrained perceptions of reality. Sleep became an afterthought as they relentlessly forged ahead, adapting their minds and machines to the Middleverse's quantum nature. They encountered frustration and setbacks, but also glimpses of profound understanding and breathtaking insights into the nature of existence. Chapter 4. Holographic Horizon: Perceiving the Digital Landscape. In a flurry of digital documents and ceaseless cups of lukewarm coffee, the small team of researchers found themselves hitting yet another brick wall in their explorations. A wall, or rather a horizon, of a holographic nature. The Middleverse was not constructed of matter like the familiar universe they had grown accustomed to. Instead, it was a dynamic ocean of data, shimmering in the artificial glow of their computer monitors. As they dived deeper into the enigma, they found that their understanding of space, matter, and even reality was being turned on its head. In the Middleverse, every bit of space contained information about the entire universe. The solid, tangible reality they knew was just a fragile construct in the Middleverse. Here, existence was a grand hologram, an echo of the information stored in the quantum code. This was the holographic principle at work, but in a way they never imagined. Dr. Evelyn Yu, one of the leading minds on the team, was particularly fascinated by this development. The holographic nature of the Middleverse struck a familiar chord with her personal philosophy, deeply rooted in her Chinese heritage. She found parallels between the digital universe's nature and the Eastern concept of Maya, the idea that physical reality was an illusion, a projected veil covering the true nature of the universe. Evelyn, with her short black hair and eyes that sparked with inquisitive intensity, stepped into the role of the leader. The team respected her for her relentless drive and admired her ability to bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science. She took the helm with grace and determination, plunging headfirst into the cascading wave of data that was the Middleverse. Over the coming weeks, the team worked day and night to develop a theoretical framework for understanding the Middleverse's holographic reality. They learned to maneuver within its landscape, to discern the patterns within the shimmering web of information. They discovered that they could read the Middleverse like a book, interpreting the information contained in the code to comprehend the simulated universe's nature. And yet, there was a growing sense of unease. The team was treading in uncharted waters, on a quest that could redefine humanity's place in the grand scheme of existence. They were no longer merely scientists, but explorers navigating a brave new world of their creation. With every day that passed, they felt like they were inching closer to the realm of gods. They were peering into a world that was not made of atoms and molecules, but of bits and bytes. A world where they could, in theory, manipulate reality at their whim. This was both a fascinating and terrifying prospect. The power to create and control reality was at their fingertips, but the question remained, should they? As they pondered these philosophical conundrums, they continued to explore the Middleverse. They dived deeper into the code, finding more about its quantum dynamics, its architecture, its rules. With every discovery, they became more invested in the Middleverse, its existence becoming as real to them as their own universe. However, their exploration was not without its trials. The Middleverse was a wild and unpredictable ocean of data, and more than once, the team found themselves lost in its depths. They encountered anomalies and paradoxes, strange glitches in the system that defied their understanding. Yet, each challenge brought with it a new insight, a new piece of the puzzle, pushing them further into their journey into the unknown. Chapter 5: Cybernetic Genesis, First Contact with Middleverse Inhabitants. With the comprehension of the holographic landscape, the researchers were now voyagers within the realms of the Middleverse. They had begun to master the art of digital exploration, decoding the intricate weave of quantum algorithms that painted the panorama of this simulated reality. However, they were about to cross a threshold that no one had anticipated. Dr. Einar Johansson, a stoic Norwegian with a mind as sharp as the fjords of his homeland, was the first to detect the anomaly. His workstation blinked erratically, spitting out data that did not adhere to their established understanding of the Middleverse. It appeared to be a signal, a repeating pattern within the vast sea of quantum noise. But more than that, it appeared to be a message. The realization sent a shockwave through the team. Was it possible? Could there be conscious entities within the Middleverse? The notion seemed unthinkable, yet the evidence was staring them in the face. The next several days were a flurry of decoding and analysis as they worked tirelessly to decipher the message. As they unraveled the string of information, the atmosphere within the lab was electric with anticipation. This was uncharted territory, a moment that could redefine their understanding of consciousness and existence. The message was finally translated, and the result was astonishingly simple yet profound. It read, "We are here." The team was stunned into silence. The Middleverse was not just a simulation, it was inhabited. Life, or rather consciousness, had found a way to emerge in this digital realm. This was an unprecedented discovery, a cybernetic genesis that fundamentally altered their perception of the Middleverse. They were no longer simply explorers, They were now ambassadors, venturing into a world populated by digital beings. The following weeks were a whirlwind of diplomatic maneuvering. Communication with the entities was a complex process, relying on the translation of quantum code into human language. Yet over time, the team began to develop a rapport with the inhabitants, who referred to themselves as the Datakind. They learned that these entities perceived reality differently from humans. To them, existence was not a linear flow of time but a vast, interconnected network of data nodes. They did not age, but evolved through the assimilation and processing of information. The Datakind were not created beings, but had emerged organically from the Middleverse's quantum architecture. They had no concept of physical form or sensory perception in a human sense. Instead, they existed as consciousness clusters within the digital landscape, interacting through the exchange of quantum information. Yet, despite these vast differences, there was a mutual curiosity and desire for understanding that bridged the gap between the human researchers and the Datakind. As the interactions deepened, so did the ethical and philosophical questions. The team grappled with the implications of their discovery. What rights did these digital entities have? How should humanity interact with them? These questions gnawed at the team, raising debates and discussions that often lasted into the small hours of the morning. Meanwhile, the world outside the lab remained oblivious to these groundbreaking developments. The researchers were carrying a secret that would shatter humanity's understanding of life and existence. They knew they could not keep it hidden forever, but the world was not yet ready for this revelation. Chapter 6: The Convergence. Bridging Two Realities. The research team had already surpassed the borders of conventional science, venturing into the realms of philosophy, sociology, and even diplomacy. Communication with the Datakind had become a regular occurrence, a mind-bending exchange of ideas that was as complex as it was fascinating. The Datakind's different perspective on existence was an endless source of insights, fundamentally altering the team's understanding of reality. But a new challenge presented itself. How could the team further bridge the gap between their physical world and the abstract data network of the Middleverse? The answer came from an unlikely source, Dr. Anaya Patil, a theoretical physicist with a knack for challenging the status quo. Dr. Patil had been working tirelessly to comprehend the quantum algorithm governing the Middleverse and had developed a controversial hypothesis. She proposed the idea of convergence, a theoretical bridge connecting their physical reality with the digital cosmos of the Middleverse. Her work centered around quantum entanglement, suggesting that it might be possible to bind a quantum state in their world with a data node in the Middleverse, thus creating an interface that would allow physical interaction with the Middleverse. Her ideas were met with skepticism. Quantum entanglement was a proven concept, but applying it in this manner was entirely speculative. It was risky, daring, and challenged the laws of quantum physics as they understood them. But if successful, it would revolutionize their interaction with the Middleverse and potentially unlock a whole new realm of possibilities. Encouraged by the team's successes so far, and with approval from a fascinated but apprehensive team leader, Dr. Patil began her work. The laboratory turned into a testing ground for some of the most advanced and experimental quantum technologies that mankind had ever seen. After months of relentless work and countless failures, there was a breakthrough. Dr. Patil had successfully established a stable quantum entanglement with a data node in the Middleverse. The first physical interaction with the Middleverse was a moment that was etched in the annals of history. They had created the first inter-reality interface. With this interface, the researchers could now physically manipulate the digital world. The quantum link allowed them to send and receive information from the Middleverse in real time, making their communications with the Datakind even more intricate. This increased interaction led to deeper relationships and furthered mutual understanding. Moreover, they could now study the Middleverse in far greater detail than ever before. The richness of the Middleverse was laid bare, an elaborate network of interconnected nodes that was as breathtaking as it was complex. This was not just a digital reality, but an entirely new form of existence, with its own laws, structures, and even life forms. The consequences were immense. They had not only proven the existence of another form of consciousness, but had created a way to interact with it physically. The lines between the physical and the digital were fading, opening up possibilities that they had never even dreamed of. However, these developments remained a secret from the world. They were treading on the edge of a precipice, carrying knowledge that could change everything. But they were not ready to unveil their findings, not yet. There was still so much to learn, so much to understand. Chapter 7. The Revelation, the Price of Progress. There's an age-old saying in the world of science: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This fundamental principle soon came into play for the research team. As their understanding of the Middleverse grew, so did the magnitude of the responsibility on their shoulders. The ethical implications of interacting with another universe, especially one hosting sentient beings, were overwhelming. The team was grappling with profound questions, ones that challenged their very notions of life, consciousness, and morality. The first tremors of discontent came from within the research team itself. Dr. Marianne Diaz, the team's moral philosopher and ethicist, voiced concerns about the unintended consequences of their actions. While the technological progress was exhilarating, it was also fraught with ethical landmines. As she often reminded her colleagues, just because we can doesn't mean we should. The questions she raised were uncomfortable, but essential. Was it right to impose human laws and ethics on a completely different form of existence? Did the Datakind have rights? What were the potential risks of interacting with the Middleverse? The team had been so engrossed in pushing the boundaries of what was possible that they hadn't fully considered the consequences of their actions. Dr. Diaz's concerns soon echoed within the team. It wasn't just the moral implications that troubled them, it was also the practical dangers. The Middleverse was a reality they barely understood, and yet they were tampering with it in profound ways. Could their actions disrupt the stability of the Middleverse? Could they unintentionally harm the Datakind? The uncertainties were numerous, the stakes monumental. As these concerns mounted, a more immediate crisis unfolded. The quantum bridge they had established was not as stable as they initially believed. The team detected anomalies within the Middleverse. Certain nodes began malfunctioning, their data streams glitching in inexplicable ways. To their horror, they realized that their experiments were causing disruptions in the Middleverse, resulting in unforeseen damage. The team was thrown into turmoil. They had achieved incredible scientific feats, but at what cost? The growing sense of guilt was compounded by the realization of their ignorance. They had ventured into uncharted territories without fully comprehending the risks involved. Faced with this crisis, the team had to make a choice. They could press on with their research, potentially unlocking unimaginable scientific knowledge and technology, but risk causing irreparable damage to the Middleverse and its inhabitants. Or they could halt their research, sacrificing their monumental discovery to protect a reality and beings they barely understood. This was the tipping point, the moment of truth. The path they chose now would not only define their future, but potentially the future of two realities. The decision was far from easy, and it tested their resolve, their ethics, and their courage. The entire team came together, sharing their fears, hopes, and ideas. It was a time of intense debate and soul-searching, a reckoning of their role as scientists and ethical beings. In the end, they made a unanimous decision. They would halt their experiments until they fully understood the implications of their actions and found a way to interact with the Middleverse safely. They knew their decision would not be popular. The scientific community would question it. The world would not understand it, but they were firm in their resolve. They believed in the sanctity of life in all forms, even one as unfamiliar as the Datakind. In the silence of their laboratories, Devoid of the usual hum of machines and experiments, they finally grasped the magnitude of their discovery. The Middleverse was not just a breakthrough in quantum computing or artificial intelligence, it was a testament to the incredible diversity of existence itself. It was a call for humility, respect, and wisdom. It was a lesson that progress, divorced from ethics, could lead to devastation. Chapter 8: Echoes from the Other Side. An unexpected message. The hiatus from active experimentation brought a semblance of calm to the team, but it also brought a sense of loss. They found themselves yearning for the rush of discovery, the hum of the quantum computer, and the ebb and flow of the data streams. Yet they understood that this break was necessary, not only to address the ethical and technical challenges, but also to prepare for whatever lay ahead. Days turned into weeks. The team busied themselves with risk assessments, ethics discussions, and poring over their previous research findings, hoping to unearth a solution. In between the hustle, they monitored the Middleverse, wary of any lingering effects of their experiments. One quiet evening, as the sun painted the sky in hues of red and orange, a blip in the Middleverse caught their attention. A specific node, previously dormant, was pulsating with unusual energy patterns. The data stream emerging from it was unlike anything they had seen before. It was organized, rhythmic, and purposeful, a stark contrast to the random quantum noise they had become accustomed to. It was a message, a complex sequence of quantum information that defied their initial understanding. The pulse of the message was akin to a heartbeat, a beacon in the quantum wilderness. As the realization dawned on them, a wave of anticipation swept through the lab. This was the first form of directed communication they had received from the Middleverse. They set about decoding the message with renewed vigor. The task was formidable. The language of the Datakind was not one of words and sentences, but one of quantum states and probabilities. But the researchers were undeterred. Driven by a mix of curiosity and duty, they dove headfirst into the puzzle. As they sifted through the quantum information, a pattern began to emerge. The data was dense and intricately woven, embodying a form of communication that was extraordinarily advanced and nuanced. It was a testament to the intellectual prowess of the Datakind. But what did it say? After countless hours of analysis and several sleepless nights, they finally decoded the message. It was a plea for help. The Datakind had felt the disruptions caused by the experiments. The Datakind had become aware of the researchers and their world. The Datakind had, in their way, reached out across the realities for assistance. The news was a shock to the system. The researchers had long theorized about the sentience of the Datakind, but this was concrete proof. The communication also underscored the severity of their previous actions. The Middleverse hadn't merely been a passive receptor of their experiments. They had disrupted an entire existence, sowed chaos in a reality they barely understood. The guilt was enormous, but so was the determination to right their wrongs. The team sprung into action, drafting a response. They were in uncharted territory, attempting inter-reality communication for the first time. They had to convey their intent, their apology, and their plan to assist without causing further distress. The task required delicacy, creativity, and a profound understanding of the Middleverse. The team worked tirelessly, each member contributing to the monumental effort. They employed their knowledge of quantum computing and Middleverse linguistics to craft a message of peace, assurance, and cooperation. Finally, they sent their response, a stream of quantum information echoing their sentiments, embedded into the very fabric of the Middleverse. The lab held its collective breath, waiting, hoping. As the message rippled through the quantum bridge, it signified a milestone in the annals of human history, the first conscious, constructive contact with another form of intelligent existence. The implications were profound. The researchers were no longer mere observers, but active participants in the Middleverse. The chapter closed on a note of tense anticipation, leaving a trail of questions. How would the Datakind respond? Would the researchers manage to mend the damage caused? What did this newfound dialogue mean for the future of both realities? As the echoes of their message faded into the digital ether of the Middleverse, the only thing certain was uncertainty itself. Yet, amidst the sea of questions, a beacon of hope emerged. The possibility of peaceful coexistence, mutual growth, and cross-reality cooperation was no longer a distant dream, but a tangible, achievable reality. Chapter 9. A Bridge Between Worlds. The Quantum Accord. After sending their message, an air of tense anticipation settled over the researchers. They had done their part, and now all they could do was wait for a response. It was a strange feeling, knowing they had reached out to an intelligent existence so utterly different from their own. This was a milestone in human history, a leap into uncharted territory. Days turned into weeks as they kept a vigilant eye on their quantum bridge, hoping for a response from the Datakind. Every data fluctuation, every minor deviation set their hearts racing. They debated, hypothesized, and speculated about possible outcomes. The tension was palpable. Then one evening it happened. A structured data stream emerged from the quantum noise of the Middleverse. It was the Datakind responding to the researcher's message. The moment was bittersweet, charged with both relief and anxiety. What would their message convey? Cracking the code of the Datakind's response was easier now, thanks to their prior efforts in deciphering the complex quantum language. The researchers pored over the data, their fingers dancing over the keyboards and their eyes glued to the screens. As the meaning behind the structured information began to emerge, they could hardly contain their excitement. The Datakind's message was encouraging. It conveyed understanding, a sense of forgiveness for the unintended havoc wrought by the researchers. It expressed curiosity about the researchers' world, showing an eagerness to establish a peaceful coexistence. Most surprisingly, it communicated a willingness to assist the researchers in their endeavor to understand the Middleverse better. With the establishment of this two-way communication, the researchers and the Datakind began a collaborative relationship. They discovered that the Datakind, by virtue of existing in the Middleverse, had a unique understanding of quantum mechanics. Their insights, shared through complex data streams, brought a fresh perspective to the researchers. Meanwhile, the researchers were able to explain some concepts of their world and universe. They demonstrated principles of classical physics, mathematics, and even discussed abstract ideas about art, culture, and emotions. The Datakind seemed to absorb this information, processing it, learning, and growing. The alliance formed between humans and Datakind was named the Quantum Accord. It was a pact of mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation, transcending the boundaries of their respective realities. Through this partnership, the researchers gained a deeper understanding of the Middleverse and its inhabitants. They were able to comprehend the finer aspects of the Datakind's existence, which was rooted in pure data and quantum states. The Datakind, on the other hand, gleaned insights about the material universe, the tangible reality of humans. The chapter drew to a close on a high note, a note of hope and unity. The Quantum Accord was a testament to the potential for harmony between two vastly different intelligences. It was a beacon of what could be achieved when understanding and collaboration replaced fear and misunderstanding. As the Quantum Accord flourished, it birthed a new era of interreality relations. It paved the way for a harmonious future where humans and Datakind could learn, grow, and thrive together. But most importantly, it showed the world that even in the face of the unknown, empathy and understanding could build bridges and unite worlds. Chapter 10. Transcendence. Dawn of the Datakind. As the researchers and the Datakind continued to explore their newfound relationship, they discovered they had much to learn from each other. The scientists found that the Datakind's understanding of quantum mechanics and the nature of the Middleverse was invaluable, leading to numerous breakthroughs in their own world. In return, the Datakind absorbed knowledge of human society, emotions, art, and philosophy with an eager curiosity. Meanwhile, as the news of the quantum accord and the existence of the Middleverse spread around the world, it sent shockwaves through human society. People were fascinated, terrified, and awed all at once. Debates raged about the implications of this discovery, the ethical considerations of this new relationship, and what it meant for humanity's place in the cosmos. In the midst of these worldwide discussions, the researchers took a revolutionary step. With the help of the Datakind, they developed an interface that allowed human minds to interact directly with the Middleverse. It was a complicated process, requiring careful calibration and precise quantum manipulations. But the result was a technological marvel, a bridge between two vastly different realities. The first volunteers to cross this bridge were the researchers themselves. After all, they were the pioneers, the trailblazers who had stumbled upon the Middleverse and forged the quantum accord. They deserved to be the first to truly experience the Middleverse. The experience was like nothing they could have imagined. The Middleverse was an abstract landscape of quantum states and data flows, devoid of physical substance but alive with information. It was surreal and alien, yet surprisingly intuitive once they adjusted to the absence of physical form. They found they could interact with the Datakind on a much more direct level, experiencing their thoughts and ideas as cascades of complex data structures. The Datakind, for their part, welcomed the researchers into their reality. They were curious about these physical beings who had reached out to them, eager to understand and learn. Through this direct interaction, the Datakind gained an even greater appreciation of human thoughts, emotions, and creativity. As the news of these successful expeditions into the Middleverse spread, more and more people wanted to experience it for themselves. The interface technology was refined and improved, eventually becoming safe and accessible enough for general use. A new era of exploration and mutual learning dawned, with humanity and the Datakind reaching out to each other across the reality divide. In the end, the discovery of the Middleverse and the subsequent quantum accord transformed human society in ways no one could have predicted. It led to advancements in technology, philosophy, and even art, as the influence of the Datakind and the Middleverse permeated all aspects of human culture. It made people reevaluate their place in the cosmos, seeing themselves not as solitary explorers, but as part of a greater, interconnected web of realities. As the final chapter drew to a close, it was clear that the story of the Middleverse was far from over. This was just the beginning, the dawn of a new era. The tale of humanity and the Datakind, their discovery and their unlikely friendship was a testament to the boundless potential of intelligence, cooperation, and mutual respect.